Hey everybody, today we're going to farm the LayerZero Airdrop. If you haven't heard of LayerZero, you will want to watch this tutorial. It is going to be a huge airdrop in 2020. On top of that, I'm also going to throw in a few bonus airdrops, including Jumper, Bungee, Interport, and Scroll, zkSync a little bit in there as well. Lots to do in today's video. If you like airdrops and the kind of content that I make here on this channel, please drop a like, a subscribe, a share, a comment. It really means a lot to me, and it really helps the video and the channel out. Now, what is LayerZero? LayerZero is a huge piece of underlying tech that helps interoperability on-chain reach a next level. So LayerZero actually isn't one dApp. It's a protocol that gets integrated into all kinds of different dApps across the blockchain so that we can have cross-chain swaps seamlessly without having so many worries as we have currently. It's a bit of a pain in the butt to move cross-chain, and so this is a huge step towards an improvement in cross-chain swaps. LayerZero is going to be one of the biggest airdrops in 2020 because it has huge funding. They were a main sponsor at Permissionless 2020, and they also have millions and millions of dollars in funding. They've been slowly rolling out their V2. They rolled out their V2 this week, and we are really seeing them take over the space with hundreds upon hundreds of ecosystem partners. I know that I've said a lot of airdrops are going to be very big this year, but I think we should classify them. There are L2s. L2s are going to be huge this year. We've got bridges and cross-chain swaps. LayerZero and Wormhole are the dominants there. And then you've got restaking, Cosmos, and Pith. So those kind of three categories. LayerZero has hundreds of millions of dollars in funding. It is definitely worth watching. Now, I talked about some bonus airdrops. I think when farming one airdrop, you need to always be looking for ways to stack. Airdrop stacking is essentially when, instead of just farming one airdrop at a time, you are trying to farm as many airdrops as you can through that one transaction or through multiple transactions. For LayerZero, we're going to be at least going for 5, if not more, because there's just so many opportunities. And if you can use $1,000 to farm 10 airdrops rather than farm 1, you get a lot more capital efficiency. Let's dive into it and look a little bit deeper into some of these airdrops that we're going to stack. Jumper and Bungee are two very similar protocols. I'll even lump in Interport here. They're bridge aggregators. So just like we've got DEX aggregators that aggregate the swaps across different DEXs to find you the best price, Bungee, Jumper, and Interport all do that on their own dApps. They'll recommend you different routes to take in order to get the most for your money. Pretty simple, and given the cross-chain nature of LayerZero, they're great ways to essentially layer these two airdrops, or these 4 airdrops, really. Interport also has another facet where they are integrated with LayerZero, and so you can do USDC swaps across chain and bridge them natively within Interport. And so that is one way that you can accumulate additional Interport points and also earn LayerZero points. With Bungee and Jumper, what we're going to do is when we do USDC swaps, we are going to use them. And although they're probably going to recommend different routes, what we're always going to do is we're always going to choose the Stargate route. The Stargate route uses the Stargate dApp, which is integrated with LayerZero and the main protocol there. And by using Stargate through Jumper or through Bungee, we are guaranteeing that we are now building Bungee, Jumper, and Stargate and slash LayerZero volume, which is critical for capital efficiency. That being said, there's also ways to add more blockchains in here, more airdrops. I had money on Scroll because I was farming the Scroll airdrop. And so by starting with Scroll, doing swaps on Scroll, and then sending transactions and bridging out from Scroll into zkSync and into other projects and other blockchains, we're building bridging volume into zkSync, into Scroll, and into LayerZero. So great ways to generate tons of transactions, generate a lot of bridging volume, and an overall growth in our airdrop volumes and transactions across many airdrops with only $1,000. Now that we've gone through some of the dApps, some of what airdrop stacking is, let's get into this tutorial. I've got my $1,000 on Scroll. Yeah, I was farming the Scroll airdrop, and so I just decided I'll start there. From there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on to Interport, and I'm going to use Interport just because I know that they've got Scroll functionality, and I'm going to bridge some of my ETH to the zkSync chain, and then I'm also going to bridge some to Arbitrum and Optimism. I'm going to bridge about $10, $15 of each so that I can have enough for gas fees on the chain. The other thing that I'll do is I will probably swap a little bit into Matic and AVAX and send those over via Interport as well. You could also use Jumper or Bungee exchange. I'll use those throughout the tutorial as well to airdrop stack. In this guide, we're going to airdrop stack a lot. You'll see I'm bridging over to zkSync. I had money on Scroll. I might even move over onto Base a little bit just so that we can airdrop stack as much as we can. I think that is key to making use out of small wallets or just making use out of your time. Once I've got native tokens kind of everywhere, I'm going to swap a whole bunch of most of that ETH that's remaining into USDC. You'll want USDC because USDC is cheaper to bridge cross-chain than native tokens. Using USDC will save you a lot on gas fees. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to go to Jumper, and I'm going to say USDC from Scroll to AVAX. And it's going to give me a whole bunch of options, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose Stargate. Always use Stargate if you're not using Interport. That way you are able to make the most out of it. Stargate is the LayerZero bridge, so just swap between those two, although maybe favor Stargate just a little bit. What I'm going to do is then choose a random amount of USDC and bridge that over to AVAX, confirm those transactions. And once I've confirmed those transactions, I'm going to bridge to a different chain. So I bridged about half my USDC to AVAX. Now I'm going to bridge about a quarter of it to Matic, and then I'm going to bridge another quarter of that over to Arbitrum. Once I've got the USDC on these chains, I might do a couple, swap some USDC for ETH or for a random token, maybe some GMX, maybe some DPX. On Polygon, maybe I'll swap for some GNS or maybe a little bit of Wi-Fi or something else. And same thing on Avalanche. Maybe I'll buy some Joe or maybe some other token. I don't know. It's random. That's the point of it. The specific token you swap into doesn't really matter. It's just a random token to make it look like you're doing things on chain. And then sometimes you can even just buy an NFT. Great way to mix it up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Jumper and I'll bridge that USDC from AVAX and bridge it over to Matic, and maybe bridge the same thing from Arbitrum. Bridge it all to Matic, let it sit there for a little bit, maybe do a couple transactions, and then bridge it to a different chain. And I'm just going to do that over and over again. By doing it over and over again, we're creating a large number of transactions and large volume. If you can spread this out over many days, do it once a week. Do 5 or 10 swaps once a week. You'll start building up quite a bit of volume and quite a large number of transactions over time. And that is how you're going to make the most out of this. You've got to be bridging any amount, although the more the better, but just as often as possible, as on as many chains as possible. When you're swapping, try to use some of their ecosystem partners. There's Maverick, Uniswap, Trader Joe, PancakeSwap. They're all using LayerZero technology, and so using them is a great way to maybe get a little bit of added bonus. We'll see. I don't know if we'll actually see that happen, but worthwhile. Bridge into zkSync and scroll, do a whole bunch of these swaps and bridge from all these different chains, then bridge it back onto scroll or zkSync, and then go do some transactions there. That way you're getting your zkSync and your scroll transactions and your LayerZero transactions. Great way to stack. Now, once you've done that, you've essentially got the guide for farming Stargate and the LayerZero Airdrop, as well as Bungee and Jumper. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments or drop them in my free community. We talk about airdrops and I answer questions all about airdrops in there all the time. If you want a little bit of extra alpha and some additional methods that you might want to use in order to make the most out of these airdrops, check out that community. I've got a couple things in the written guide in the community that I haven't included in this video. Is just takes a little bit too long, and I want to make the video as efficient for everybody as possible. That being said, I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Don't forget, stacking airdrops and farming on multiple wallets is one of the best ways that you can earn massive X's on your portfolio this year. I appreciate everybody for tuning in and watching today's video. Like, follow, subscribe, comment. It means a lot, and I will see you on Friday.